France, as the games have just gotten underway, and our marquee matchup will feature this game. Wesley So, our tournament leader on our left, against a surging MVL, Maurice. MVL winning 2 games in a row.
Indeed, starting his day strong, a potential campaign to win the whole thing. It's going to be very difficult to do, to bridge the 3-point gap between he and Wesley at the moment, but why not? Wesley has been only drawing his game so far, so Maxime, a streaky player as well, could put some numbers together. Wesley will be very careful against the Frenchman.
And he's just played this retreat, knight b3. Looks a little bit like a hedgehog. I love playing this formation for both sides. And I remember a game I played against Andres Dorian where I put a knight on d2, stopping his breaks, and I won a very nice game as white. But we're still in the thick of, I would say, theory. White does his best to control the d5 break, and he's just played f4, intimating that he's ready to play the move e5. Now, after playing f4, with this weak pawn on e4, this knight is going to reposition itself to b8 to d7. And this pawn on e4 means that you've got to be prepared to chase this knight. Right now, I'm thinking if I'm Wesley, I'm going to play g4, but that's a kind of a bridge-burning move, Maurice. It's not the move that Wesley's been playing so far. He's been playing it safe, I want to say.
Indeed, and now rook to d8 has allowed the possibility of knight to d5. We've seen this typical sacrifice many times before. He could drop a knight in on d5 and capture, and the knight on c6 is being hit. I used to play the hedgehog myself, and I always wanted my knight to be on the d7 square, not the c6 square, and he did do it. Knight to d5, takes, queen to d7, and takes. And the issue is, was this a good sequence for white? We see the e-pawn under attack right now, but black's d-pawn on d6 is a long-term weakness. Is this what Wesley wanted? It seems that as long as Wesley can figure out how to defend the e-pawn, which, by the way, will get attacked ferociously, queen going to b7 on the next move.
I'm sure he's considering the sacrifice rook takes c6. The idea of rook takes c6 is if you take with the queen, he's ready to play e5. If you take with the rook, he's ready to play e5. He didn't. He did play the move queen d4, defending the pawn on e4, sidestepping the potential of the pin if the queen had been on d1, as well as bishop b5 if the queen went to d3. Now your move, queen b7, will provoke knight to d2, but then always in a hedgehog, you always got to calculate, is the break d6, d5 possible, yes or not?
Exactly. There's 2 salient variations I'd like to point out. One is the one you just talked about, and the other that I'm looking at is knight to g4. And he's played a third. He's played d5 immediately. d5 allowing e5. And where is the knight going to go? e4 is probably the right square. e4 played, knight to e4.
I'm not sure I like this decision by MVL. It feels like it's given white a chance to, the reprieve that white needs to consolidate, something like rook d1. Even potentially just bishop takes, queen takes, knight comes to d4. That looks pretty solid for white. I think there was an opportunity there for MVL with
But
queen
this
d7.
move, this last move played,
knight to e4?
No, rook to d1. I was scared about bishop to a4, but no, rook c8, bishop d5, bishop b3.
Well,
why not? Bishop a4. If you take on c8, I'll have to take back with
I think I can take on e4, Maurice. That will solve the pin.
What do you mean? I'm taking on b3.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Bishop takes e4. Bishop takes b3 does hit my rook on d1.
He did not go for the bishop a4 move. I was busy calculating rook takes on c8, and that might have created some issue, although I don't think it did because I still hit the rook. But instead, he's played queen to e6, sidestepping.
And this is a little That's a cheeky little move. You make Luft, but you're also threatening the move bishop g4. Is that provoked f5?
I think that's a pawn thrust I saw him play.
It looked
yes,
like it,
f5
yeah.
on the board, cementing the
Whoa.
knight. This is not bad for black. Again, I really like this move, bishop to a4, if you gave me the chance. But now it looks like he has other moves as well.
I've got to guess, what about the move queen d3, playing knight d4 and b4? If I can get in both those moves, knight d4 and b4, controlling c5, I'm thinking advantage white. But let's see if what's happened. Yes, he did play queen d3, bishop c6. Yes, he played knight d4, queen f7 on the board. And now I'm expecting a move b2, b4, controlling the square. And I feel it's advantage white. We'll see how the game continues.
And I am dipping into some analysis by the engine.
Yeah.
And the move we talked about, this queen b7 move, was very powerful earlier.
Yes.
Just a while back, we had this move we had played queen to d4, queen b7, knight d2, d5 would have been very thematic and powerful. He missed this shot, did Maxime, which is a typical idea to putting your bishop to the c5 square and attack down this line. This would have been really good for him. Now he's found himself in a bit of a strange bird position at the moment. Wild position, in fact.
Yeah, we got to jump in, Maurice, because what happened was after queen f7, he didn't go for the move b4 that I expected. Wesley spotted what he thought was a really nice strategic motif of being able to get in the move g4. The idea is you can't take on g4 because of bishop takes with the threat of bishop e6. So Maxime had to allow g6, takes, and the g file just got opened up. A lot of moves. Let me just catch up with the players here. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here. Oops, that wasn't it.
And all the other games are in balance right now on almost every board. And
really?
Every board is going to come down to time pressure. But it turns out that Wesley had a big advantage in this game.
Oh, no.
And he has blown it with his last move, b4. b4 is not supposed to be an ideal move here. And bishop takes on d4. Bishop takes back in the position there. And
maybe
I see you're having some trouble on your board. Yes.
Yeah.
For the analysis, we can stay on the big board. This one is looking challenging for Wesley, and he's not sure at all. You could tell that. Queen to g6, threatening queen to g3 with check. And Wesley down to 132.
Knight still
I think he could trade off the knight at some point and say, well, I'll probably have a very good chance of drawing the position, but he's decided to keep the knights on. But you see how he moves very quickly there at that moment. A little concerned. Now no chance to go to g3.
Right.
Queen h6, hitting the pawn on f4.
Right.
Queen c1 defending. Does that allow... Oh, wait. There's no queen c1.
So there's queen h4.
There's a queen h4 sighting.
Yeah, that's a little bit awkward, isn't it?
But he does have to worry... No,
he's reaching for his queen.
And he's played queen back to g7, looking to play queen g3 check yet again. And that would be a winning move, if allowed.
Queen g1, maybe queen c7. Oof.
And queen g1 played.
On the board.
And we don't suspect he wants to trade queens, but he has done it.
Wow.
He has done it.
Surprise. This can only be better for white now. The two bishops with the pawn on a7 and b6. That's a humongous target on the queen side. I can't imagine anything but two results here in favor of white.
Yes, very...
Bishop to a6 with the idea of bishop to c8 and keeping that pawn on a7 and b6. No, he's just played king g2. He's centralizing.
And now the king is on e6, king f3. That allows a potential check from d1, but he's instead playing the knight check. And maybe he's going to c4. If he gets to c4,
no, there was no
then you
way.
have to take this piece. No choice. You're dropping your A pawn.
Wesley has not played this very well, in my view. He should have. The knight on e4 should have.
He's left it. He's given away this pawn. So his
going
king.
After the f5 pawn.
Yes, but after
knight takes
the bishop
and
comes
bishop
back,
c2.
And now bishop to g6, guarding the pawn.
Oh.
And now the A pawn is up the board. And whoa, that king is looking almost mated. But knight f3 check is a huge threat, winning the bishop on d4. So the king has moved up the board
to h6.
And now knight
f3, hitting the bishop.
Oh, hesitating right there, bishop back. And now what does the knight do?
D4, bishop c4 check.
Yes.
That's the awkward move. That's
and where does your knight's going to end up back on a d2 circuit. Your knight's going to have to go all the way back over to d2 to e4. And there it is, knight to d2 and h4 about to challenge the bishop on g6.
Exactly.
And win the h pawn, bishop back to e3. Actually, h5, if h5 happens, he does have a chance, as we see.
This is the point that I was saying.
Now the other side of the board is in deep trouble.
Now bishop d2 just wins the game.
I would have trapped the knight. Bishop d2 just doesn't matter. H5 is doing the same thing, backing that up, and now bishop d2
just traps the knight. The knight never moves after
bishop d2 looks crushing, but this looks crushing as well.
Oh no, it's poor play there.
Poor play. Bishop d2 was a good trap.
Oh, bishop b1. Keeping the eye. Okay, he's just ready to go king g7. King g7 and h6 is his plan.
This looks huge. This looks winning itself. This doesn't look bad at all. Wesley going for a big win, b5, king g7. And how do you stop this pawn?
I would try
to kill it right now, but the two bishops would destroy the knight.
Agreed.
There's no way you survive that position.
Agreed. That's the problem. And MVL stopping as he's realizing it's all over.
And he's taken. And now bishop check, and he's going to drop.
Ali Fallujah, the wunderkind, is continuing his winning ways.
And there goes that pawn. Bishop c5 check would be good enough. And there it is. He's won the game.
Nice.
Wesley trading.